everyone. Welcome to tonight's Tail Pill. Good to be with you.
Hi,
Sláinte Ruth.
Sláinte, and hi everybody.
Well, last week, as you know, some of you know, Ruth and I drove to Philadelphia, and that was quite a trip.
Yes, it was
It's almost like I
a
feel.
long trip.
Yeah, I'm almost feeling after that trip that it's too far.
No, it wasn't two. It was a lovely trip,
But I want to make it in two next time.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're
I
getting a
know
wee
for
bit
some of
older.
you who have been driving trucks and all that for a long time.
It's not a long
You're
trip.
probably wondering what are we complaining about, but 10 hours, it just seems like a long time now.
Well, we're getting older.
But
We used to do that kind
We
of
used to
thing.
do a lot more than that.
Kids in the car and everything.
We've done 24 hours
We're
straight.
getting old. You know that, right? But
I refuse to admit it.
while we were there, we saw Radhika and Mohan, good
Yeah.
friends, our son-in-law's
And
parents.
if you're watching, hi there.
Hi there. Thank you for putting up with us. And while we were there, we also were able to go, for me, to go down my family memory lane.
Yeah, that was really
Because my dad was
really
actually
good.
born in Germantown, Philadelphia. So we went around his old neighborhood and saw the church. Well,
Yeah.
first of all, saw the house where he was born.
By the way, it was interesting that we were in Philadelphia when all this stuff, all the election
stuff
stuff
was
going on.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that was dramatic. But we were there, saw the house where my dad was born and where
Yeah.
his mom died. We saw the church that they all attended. We saw the grave of my grandma, because she died not too long after my dad was born. And then we saw the orphanage where my dad and his sister were placed for about 3 years of their lives before they were sent back to Ireland, and their grandma raised them in Ireland. But all of that is the reason why my dad was then called up in the American Army. He turned 18 at the Second World War time, just as America was entering the war over Pearl Harbor. He had just turned 18.
Yeah.
So then he was called up to serve in the American Army.
Uncle Sam says, "We need you,
We
Bob.
need you, Bob.
We need
So-
every man,
But it was
every
kind
woman."
of kind of emotional standing there at my grandma's grave,
Yeah.
and of course these are all people I never met. But isn't it interesting that even though you haven't met these people, you know the story and you have connection there. So it was kind of emotional. I was a wee bit teary-eyed.
No, you were. I noticed that. But it was
But it
very
was great.
meaningful for you, you know, really reconnecting.
Yeah,
It's been a lot of years since
Yeah.
you were there.
very true.
So anyway, it was really good. We missed everyone, but we know you had a great service. We watched the service
Yes.
online.
With Bethany.
Yeah, and Bethany
Chapman.
was really good. Okay, so today we're going to just read a few verses. We're going to continue in Ecclesiastes. We're talking about a time for everything. So it says in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather stones. And we talked about this one last week. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. So today we're going to talk about this one, a time to weep and a time to laugh.
Yes, those are pretty extreme differences, aren't they?
Yeah, and of course weeping
Will
is-
endure for the night,
yes.
but joy
Yeah.
comes in the morning.
Yeah.
Is a
Joy comes in the
promise from
morning,
Scripture.
weeping only lasts for a night.
right,
But of course there is a time for mourning.
right.
It's interesting over the years, you know, I've encountered people and they said, why can't I get over this? Why can't I get over the fact that Harry's not here anymore or Joan's not here anymore? And people kind of are really hard on themselves about this whole process of grieving, you know, because, you know, there's a time to weep. So they think that that's something that should only last for a while. But at the same time, when it's talking about that, you have to realize that the whole process of grieving can take a very, very long time. And you always miss the person.
And
But at the same time, you can still laugh.
Right.
You know, you might be crying 15 minutes prior to laughing. Both things can actually operate side by side.
yeah, and everybody mourns differently and grieves differently. And the other thing I've noticed since my mom and dad have gone to be with the Lord, I don't know, it just can hit you all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like suddenly I'm in a situation and I just hear their voices in my head. And either I'll burst out laughing because it's maybe a joke. My mother was always full of jokes. Or it's just a hymn that my mother was singing, or something that my dad always said to us, or something. And it just comes, and the tears will come with it.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's,
and some people think that that's not natural, that you should be over it, but I think the Bible's trying to say to us there's a time for that. There's a space for that. There's a place for that in your life, and there's a place for laughing. So, you know, if you truly think about it this way, if you truly love someone, you're never actually going to say, I'm over it. Because that way you're basically trying to say, I'm over that person. And you're never going to be over that person if you love them, and you're always going to miss them. So it's quite
the memories
natural.
will stay forever.
It's quite natural to still miss that person and maybe even shed tears even years after they've gone because you love them and because they were so integral to your life that you can't even remember what life's like without them because you've been with them that long. And so, I mean, missing someone that's been a part of your life for so long is such a big deal because now all of a sudden you're trying to do life without them, and that can be very difficult.
Just one wee thing I'm thinking about as you talk. See, I can never look at yellow flowers. Anyway,
What?
yellow flowers without hearing my mom's
I better take
voice.
that as some kind of hint. No yellow flowers for Ruth.
Yeah, no, well, I've told you this story before. But my mom, you see, had this thing that colors in flowers were certain symbolic things. So red was love and white was, I forget what white was, separation or something. But yellow was always loneliness. And she always, you know, she had these things associated. And forever I can remember, my dad always got it wrong.
He always brought
yellow
flowers.
Because
he loved yellow flowers.
Because he loved yellow.
Actually loved
and
yellow.
I don't know whether he listened to her about this or whether he thought she would get over it or whatever. But no, my mother never got it. And so the Northern Ireland Belfast accent, you see, you don't say flowers, you say flowers. That's the way we say it. So anytime my dad would hand her a bouquet of flowers and there was yellow, ah, Bobby, there's yellow flowers again.
And he always made the same mistake, didn't he?
And honestly, every time I see yellow flowers, I hear, it's a yellow flower in my head.
I know. But he loved her so much. And, you know, I look at your dad as an example of someone who missed your mom so much, but yet he got on with his life.
He did. He got on with what God
and he would have a good
to
old
do.
belly laugh at times and have a joke around.
But he told me, he says, Ruth,
and
I
then he
miss
would
her.
cry in the next instant because he missed her so much, but he got on with his life, and I thought that was a big testimony.
Yes, it was, because they had met when they were only teenagers, and all the stuff they had gone through in their lives, and in Congo and everywhere, and going through the war even as teenagers and stuff. But he told me, he used to say to me, Ruth, I can't even tell you, love, how much I miss your mother. I miss her every minute of the day. But he says, in the evenings it's worse, because we used to sit and have a wee chat in the evenings. So, you know, it's very normal, because if you love somebody, all those memories are there.
Right.
But what he didn't allow it to do was to stop him from serving God.
And he realized that his life was valuable still. Sometimes people might think, you know, they're no longer here anymore, I'm not married anymore, or we're not a couple, and they feel less valuable. But in God's eyes, we're just as valuable, no matter what status we have, you know, whether we call it widow or divorced or whatever. Our status doesn't matter to God. What matters to God is that he cares about us, and our life has value no matter what season of life we're in.
And then don't forget the time to laugh.
A time to laugh.
Hope you have a good time to laugh today.
Good being with you. Take
God
care.
bless.
Pip, pip, and
Cheerio.
cheerio.